Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Broker Connect. My name is Jason Carter. I am an associate broker with NPR Realty and this year's president of the RACI Board of Directors. 2024 has brought many shifts in real estate, and the association is embracing programs, content, and resources to help you navigate what these changes mean to your business. Supporting you through these changes is our highest priority. And before we get started on the full program here, I'd like to draw your attention to the antitrust statement. Please be aware of the fact that all here present are in the real estate brokerage business and are located in the same market area. As a result, antitrust laws require that there be no discussion at this meeting concerning certain competitive business practices, such as the amount of fees, commissions, splits, or broker compensation. The instructor or staff liaison will stop the meeting or discussion if the conversation is moving into these areas. So, change is coming from several different arenas. On March 11th, Governor Holcomb signed the requirement of buyer agency agreements to be in writing to present buyers of real property. This requirement is state law and is for all licensees, realtor or not, and is for all classes of real estate, including commercial, residential. This new Indiana law goes into effect on July 1st, 2024. On March 15th, we got the news that NAR had proposed settlement agreement that would resolve the litigation that put all agents in jeopardy for exposure. IRMLS is actively engaged in making the appropriate decisions to remain compliant with the settlement agreement. Additionally, today we will be highlighting rule changes in IRMLS as a result of the consolidation of rules for consistency across all associations in IRMLS. Questions about the settlement and effective timeline is available on facts.realtor. I encourage you to refer to this site for most current and accurate information on the settlement and how it affects our business. One of the ways that RACI has responded to the needs of the members is through education. In April, RACI hosted the ABR, Accredited Buyers Representative course. Terry Watson spent 2 days educating and equipping members to thrive in a market that requires more communication and understanding the importance of expressing your value. If you missed the opportunity to take the course in person, NAR is offering the ABR as a 2-day virtual self-paced course option, free now through December. And I'll just say I took that course and it was great. I encourage you to do that. It was a great course. May 2nd, an additional resource RACI offered to the membership was hosting the IAR State of Real Estate with Maggie McShane and Rochelle Cohen-Mosler from IAR Legal Counsel and IAR Senior Vice President of Government Affairs. Thanks to RPAC fueling IAR's government affairs, Maggie and her team had the foresight to propose buyer agency as a state mandate. HEA 1068 was signed into law just days before the NAR settlement. Thanks to the new law, all licensees in Indiana, realtor or not, will be required to have all agency agreements in writing, whether you are representing a buyer or seller. If you missed Maggie and Rochelle's informative presentation, you can reference the following resources. This full presentation will be sent to you after our meeting so that you can easily access the IAR legal Q&A resources. Also, mark your calendars for June 27. IAR will be hosting a virtual meeting to all members who wrap up questions about both the Indiana state law and NAR settlement. The RACI board and committees are continuing to monitor the needs and educational opportunities for our members. This year's annual meeting in October will feature keynote speaker Marky Lemons with an optional learning lab immediately following to further implement the value content. Marky is a well-known speaker in the industry, packing out conference rooms at all national conferences. The annual meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, October 9th. And if you haven't heard her speak, that's going to be a treat for you. I've had the pleasure of that, and she's really good. The RACI board is also considering additional NAR designations, opportunities to further round out agent skills. Next up, we will be highlighting rule changes in IRMLS as a result of the consolidation of rules for consistency across all associations in IRMLS. To cover the changes, I'm going to turn over the program to Sherry Smith, IRMLS Vice Chair and Representative of RACI to the IRMLS Board of Directors.
Good morning, everybody. So there obviously are lots of changes coming down the pike. What I am going to go over right now are the rule changes for IRMLS. The background on this is, of course, we were 14 associations. We're now 13 associations came together and formed IRMLS. We had a strategic planning session about 1.5 years ago, and last year started implementing our strategic plan. And part of that strategic plan is to have consolidated rules across all of the associations. In the beginning, we allowed each local association to have overlaying policy, have a little bit stricter policy in their areas if they so chose. What we found is when we have bordering associations, that really muddied the waters as to what each agent was able to do with their listings and such. So part of our strategic plan was to go back and say, we're not going to allow overlaying policy from the local associations anymore. And everybody that is a member of IRMLS will adhere to one set of rules. So it's consistent across the board for all member boards. And part of that process, all of the local associations submitted their overlaying policies to the legal counsel of IRMLS. They compiled the list. They went through and a lot of them had some similar policies, so they kind of merged those together and inserted those into our existing IRMLS rules, which is what we have come up with today. They were approved by IRMLS Board of Directors in April, and they go into effect on June the 3rd. Okay, Stephanie, you can go to the next one. Okay, and I'm just going to highlight a few of the main ones. I'm not going to highlight all of them. I'm going to highlight just a few of the main ones that really impact us. We now have a mandatory listing area, okay, which is the state of Indiana. All IRMLS users with listings in the state of Indiana are required to input them into the MLS. Previously, the mandatory listing area was not defined. And so no matter where your listing is in the state of Indiana, it needs to go into IRMLS. If we have new participants and subscribers join IRMLS, they will have 7 days to input their Indiana listings into IRMLS. That is active and pending. They won't, obviously, they're not going to enter their previous sold data. They're just going to enter their active, and that's just for the new managing brokers coming in. Go ahead and go on, Stephanie. Multi-class listings. Properties that qualify for entry into more than one property class Like a property is zoned for both residential and commercial, or a property zoned for both multifamily and commercial, may be entered into each property for which it qualifies. Each listing must have its own MLS number. The MLS number of each listing must be included in the additional MLS numbers field. All listings must be maintained and updated simultaneously within the MLS. Only one of the listings can be reported as closed. The second listing must be deleted from the system by requesting association staff to delete the listing. Such a request must be made within 48 hours after closing the first listing. So we've kind of been doing this as RACI in the past. We would allow you to list, let's say you had a group of properties for sale, and we would allow you to list each property individually and them as a group in the investment class. But you could only close out one of those transactions. Our goal as IRMLS, as part of our strategic plan, is to be the best data center out there for the state of Indiana. And so most of our decisions were made on the fact of keeping the consumer in mind. So the consumer has the most up-to-date and accurate information from IRMLS. You can go to the next slide. New construction. A new construction listing may be entered in the residential property class if these items can be answered yes. The land is a platted site. It has a full street address. It is assigned a tax key number, and a building permit has been issued. Okay. A new construction listing may be entered into the lot and land property class if it does not meet the requirements above. Only if the land itself is for sale. Okay. The listing price can only reflect the price of the land. So if you have a subdivision or some land that is a builder is building on, and they don't have a contract on a certain lot, or they don't have a spec spelled out for that certain lot, they haven't pulled the building permit yet, as long as they're willing to sell that lot, then that lot can be listed in the MLS. If they're not willing to sell that lot, then it cannot be listed in the MLS. Okay. A new construction listing cannot be entered in both residential and lot and land classes at the same time. The listing agent must contact MLS staff to close or delete the original lot and land listing prior to entry into residential class. So let's say that the builder or the developer is willing to sell that lot, that vacant lot, and then they end up building, they have a contract on it, and they end up building a property that then needs to go into the MLS, and it would be deleted out of lot and land and inserted and entered into the residential class. Now, when I say that the builder or the developer is willing to sell, of course, you're going to have, it's going to be listed with a listing agency. There's going to be a listing agreement for these properties. It's not just a builder contacting or a developer contacting IRMLS or RACI to enter this information into the MLS. Okay. Any questions on new construction? Okay. To add to that, we decided that we needed to narrow down the photos of new construction. The primary photo for all new construction properties must be the floor plan of the home being built or an architectural rendering. Additional photos are allowed and may include a photo or a rendering or model of a similar style property, as long as a disclaimer is included on the photo noting this is a similar property and the photos are not deceiving or misleading. Photos must be updated as construction continues. Upon closing, a photo of the actual property must be submitted. So on new construction, if you have a rendering or an architectural rendering or a floor plan, then once you close it, it must be an actual front photo of the property. Public remarks may contain items buyer may select as construction continues. No references to websites are permitted in the public remarks. The term pre-sold is to be used only for custom-built new construction sold prior to construction. This is a big, big change for most users, okay? Disclosures. The Indiana Sellers Residential Real Estate Sales Disclosure shall be completed, signed, and uploaded to the Add Edit Documents link tab in Paragon at the time a listing is submitted into the MLS. Each line item must be checked regarding the seller's knowledge as to the condition. So when a listing is entered, the seller's disclosure must be uploaded into the MLS, and the seller must fill out that seller disclosure to the best of their knowledge. Okay. Participants and subscribers are required to submit accurate listing data and required to correct any known issues or any known errors. All applicable disclosures must be uploaded to the Add Edit tab of the MLS. Any questions on the seller disclosure? Okay. Moving on. Here's another one, status changes. Any change in the listed price or other change in the original listing agreement shall be made only when authorized in writing by the seller and shall be filed with the service within 1 calendar day, excluding holidays, after the authorized change is received by the listing broker. So that 1 calendar day is what was added. So if you have a change in price, as you can see, the next statement says all status changes except for sold must be reported to the service by the listing broker within 1 calendar day, excluding holidays. Okay. So anytime you change a price, anytime the status changes, you have 1 calendar day to change that. So if it happens on a Thursday, it has to be changed by Friday. If it happens on a Friday, it has to be changed by Saturday. Same thing for Saturday. And remember, our strategic planning, we went back to what is our MLS? What is our goal of our MLS? Our goal is to be the #1 data center in Indiana and to have the most accurate data for the public. The bottom of that, a pending sale must be reported regardless of whether earnest money has been delivered or received. That should be highlighted also, Stephanie. I hear a lot of times that when I call and check the status, I hear, well, we have an accepted offer, but we don't have the earnest money yet. It doesn't matter. If that seller isn't able to accept an offer, then the status needs to be changed. Okay. Some notes on status changes. The selling date must be identified when the status of a listing submitted to the MLS is changed to pending. Okay, so that's going to be your pending date. A listing broker that has a pending listing over 90 days old in the MLS, except for new construction, will be given 30 days to verify the accuracy of the status or to close out the listing. MLS staff has the authority to cancel the listing if the listing broker fails to respond within the 30-day time frame. Next slide. If the listing, so reporting the sales status, sold status changes, status change to sold, including final closing of the sales and sales price, shall be reported to the multiple listing service by the listing broker within 1 business day after it has occurred. Okay. There's a little asterisk there. I'm going to jump to the bottom of that slide. It says the property, and we did define the word sold in our MLS rules. The property has been sold when all funds have been dispersed. So you go to closing, it's a dry closing, we've signed, and for some reason it's not funding until tomorrow. Okay. The sold date is the date that the funds are dispersed. The listing agreement of a property filed by the MLS by the listing broker must include a provision expressly granting the listing broker authority to advertise, to file the listing with the MLS, to provide timely notice of status changes of the listing to the MLS, and to provide sales information, including selling price, to the MLS upon sale of the property. If deemed desirable by the MLS to publish sales information prior to final closing settlement of a sales transaction, the listing agreement must also include a provision expressly granting the listing broker the right to authorize dissemination of this information by the MLS to its participants. This is already built into our listing agreements. So that part, the note 1, isn't a big change for us. So status changes, I just want to kind of recap that. Any status change, any information change on a listing must be made within 1 calendar day, except for sold. You have 1 business day to change it to sold. And the reasoning behind that is, again, we were going back to the consumer. The consumer wants to know right away if they can write an offer on that property or not, if they have a chance to purchase that property. So the status change from active or to active contingent or active to pending, that needs to happen in a very timely fashion to meet our consumers' needs. The consumer isn't so much caught up in the fact of a pending, I can't write an offer on that property, and it gets marked sold. But we still wanted that marked in a timely fashion. So we agreed that the sold status, changing a property from pending to sold, you have 1 business day from the time that it is sold, which is when the funds are dispersed. Any questions on that? Okay, moving on. Comparable listing or comp sales. We all have those instances when we have an office exclusive or for sale by owner. That is a good comp that we would like entered into the MLS system. Of course, there is a form for you to fill out that is on the homepage in Paragon. It's also in, I'm sorry, it is on the homepage in Paragon. Stephanie has that for us. Comparable only listings. The selling agent may enter the listing for comparable only purposes when the listing agent is a non-office participant. So what that means is it's only when the listing agent is not an IRMLS participant. So you always want to go in and search for that listing agent in Paragon to see if they are a participant or a subscriber. If they are, then you need to ask them to enter the listing. If they're not, then you are able to enter that listing into the system. The listing may not be entered before the closing date, and the listing must be entered into the MLS with all required fields completed and photo uploaded within 7 business days after the closing date. Oh, go back. Including the original list date, pending date, and close date. For an office exclusive listing, the agent notes must state office exclusive listing. Okay, next one. After submitting the listing, including all sold data, the closing statement and office exclusive form or for sale by owner form must be forwarded to the association within 3 business days of submission of the listing. The closing statement must clearly show that the participant represented the buyer in the transaction. Association staff will audit the listing for compliance and make necessary changes. For example, changing the listing agent to for sale by owner or non-RACI member and overriding any listing div violation. The comparable only submission must comply with all listing input and closed rules. Okay. So remember, if you're taking an office exclusive or a listed coming soon, you must send that form, that completed form, over to info@raci.org within 3 business days of the seller signing those documents. Okay, moving on. Another big one for us, for sale signs. Only the for sale sign of the listing broker may be placed on a property. All real estate signs must be maintained in compliance with with any local sign ordinances applicable to the property. That's really not a change for us. We just defined it more in our MLS rules. What's new for RACI are sold signs. Prior to closing, only the sold sign of the listing broker may be placed on a property unless the listing broker authorizes the cooperating broker to post such a sign. Within 10 days after closing of a sale, all sold signs on a property must be removed. Okay. Next slide. So that is the majority of the big changes for RACI. I will encourage you to check out those updated MLS rules. They will be uploaded into the MLS Docs tab of Paragon by IRMLS. So I just kind of also want to remind everybody on some advertising rules. All advertising falls under the direct supervision of the managing broker and must include the name of the managing broker with whom the agent is associated, and said agent's company name must be clearly visible. Size and placement directives have been removed. They removed those size and placement directives a number of years ago from the Indiana Code. Additionally, the Code of Ethics instructs realtors shall be honest and truthful in their real estate communications and shall present a true picture in their advertising, marketing, and other representations. So familiarize yourself with the Indiana law regarding advertising, as well as the Code of Ethics. You can scan these QR codes to go directly to that information. The legal Q&A is from IAR, and page 3 really talks about the advertising. Any questions for me on any of the MLS rules or ethics advertising? All right, I'm not hearing any, and I don't see any chat, so I thank you guys for having me sit on the IRMLS Board of Directors on behalf of RACI. I really enjoy it. I really feel that IRMLS is going in a great direction. We've got more in our strategic plan. Our next hurdle to jump through is all the NAR MLS changes due to the settlements. And we are going to be working on those in the next couple weeks. All right, Stephanie, back to you.
Thanks, Pam. Just want to take a few minutes to do a quick reminder that of the key RACI communications that are available to support your agent's success. We have RACI Notes every Friday at 6:45 a.m. that includes real estate news, member news, and events, any events that are going to, it's your kind of your one-stop shop for everything, and it goes out to all members, agents, brokers, affiliates, and the like. If your agents are not looking at any other communication, they need to be looking at that one. The second communication that is really important is the resource communications. These don't have a timeline because they are intended, they're just really important updates about the tools and services that are provided to make you excel in your business. So those are really important to make sure that you're getting those and that you've not unsubscribed from RACI Communications. I am going to be doing kind of like a big push here in the next few weeks after there's been some changes with email communications and bulk communications, and we just need to ensure that everybody's getting these communications. And the last one is the events email. And again, that's going to be, most of the events are going to be in RACI Notes, but it's nice to have a one place to look for whatever events and trainings and education that we have available to grow their skills, that is out there. So I'd really like you guys to like kind of partner with me and make sure that you're asking your agents if they are receiving the communications from RACI, that you encourage them to open up RACI Notes every Friday. If you want to refer back to it in any office meetings, that's great. All RACI Notes and key tech emails are on raci.org//RACI-notes. They're there all the time. So if you accidentally delete or delete on purpose because you're getting rid of things and you go, oh, there was a great email 3 or 4 weeks ago, it's still there. You've got access to it. So I just kind of look forward to partnering with you guys and helping us make sure that our agents are using the tools and services that RACI provides, and that they know that all the communications are there to help them drive their business forward. This is Jason.
Yep, I'm back on here. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that hopped on today. I just will add that I'm proud to say that I live and practice real estate in this area, and it is very important to me and to all of you, I would say as well, that we provide that great representation for our buyers and sellers. So we will do everything we can to get you information as we get it. And you can look to get links and a copy of this as well afterwards. So we're going to make sure we push that out to you. I also want to thank the staff at RACI for all their help and everything that they do. Yeah. So, and don't forget our sponsors. We want to thank Beacon Community First Farmers, Meridian Title, Solidarity, and Tulip Tree Title. Without them, a lot of the stuff we do is not possible.
I just want to remind everyone we will be following up with a communication that includes a recording of this presentation and the slide deck, and also links to the resources that were mentioned throughout the presentation. So thank you all for being here. And thank you, Jason, for leading us well, and Sherry for representing us well on IRMLS. Thank you.